Hello and welcome back to the Dungeons and Dragons podcast UK. My name is Yasmin and I will be the DM.
Hi, my name's Colin and I play Cuin de Greymont, a paladin from Gavany.
Hi, I'm Spencer. I play Cadeaux Chasseur, a cleric also from Gavany.
Hi, I'm Brian and I play Ogvar Surefoot, a ranger from Kessig.
Hi, my name is Samantha and I play Elora Greyvale, a sorcerer from Nephalia. Previously on Secrets of the Silver City, His Holiness breezed back into the bar and began regaling his horrifying tale of terror that took place in an alleyway between some terraces across town. Meanwhile, a noticeable buzz throughout the bar signalled the arrival of a troupe of renowned, talented performers. Always a firm family favourite of Innistrad's inhabitants, Elora inquired with some locals as to why they might have made an unexpected and seemingly unscheduled arrival in Selhoff. Cadeaux, now also curious, approached the bartender on a bit of a fact-finding mission. A small matter of large overpayment gained Cadeaux some gossip, as well as a jelly offering, which, in true gentlemanly fashion, he gifted to Esther. And it didn't take much encouraging for her to engage with yet another alcoholic asset. With relics to recover and a noble to nobble, our companions endeavour to tackle the tricky task of formulating a furtive plan in a bid to save the city from its chronic corruption. Episode 78, Sacred Sacrifices and Dryfish Drivel.
Okay, so moving to Elora and Esther. Elora, what are you doing?
Right. Elora is going to turn to Esther as she goes out the guild door and say, Esther, I think I'd like you to come with me to the church. I'd like to go and speak to Gerhard. There's a couple of things I want to speak to him about, but I'd kind of like to get there. I guess I just want to press on and get a move on with this because time is of the essence. And she's just going to smile thinly at Esther and just walk off, just continue her way directly to the church, no stops on the way.
Okay, so Elora, you and Esther make your way up to the church. It doesn't take you long, you actually move a fairly fast clip without the boys. So yeah, you get into the church. It's fairly quiet. A lot of the people have left. The people who were milling about earlier have left. Obviously it's lunchtime, they've probably gone for lunch. What are you doing?
Right, she's going to not mess around. She's going to go straight into the church and she's going to try and track down Bishop Gerhard.
Okay. So it's fairly easy to find him. He's not in any of the main areas, but you kind of assume that he's probably upstairs in his private quarters, so you just head straight up, wander straight in, and sure enough, there is Bishop Gerhard. He's currently talking to not an elderly, but an older woman. She looks probably in her late 50s. Her hair's pulled back into quite a severe bun, and she's again wearing these kind of white silver holy robes with a big symbol of Avacyn strung around her neck.
She's gonna knock on the door. Gerhard? Bishop? Hello, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to bother you. I wondered if I could have, well, it's kind of kind of urgent if I could have a chat with you.
Ah, whippersnapper. Oh, come in, take a seat, take a pew. Take a pew. Oh, excuse me.
That's very good. That's very good.
Excuse me.
I could do with a little levity. I could do with a little levity right now.
This is one of my Cathars. This is Ruth. She's quite a senior Cathar. Cleric like your boisterous young whippersnapper you have with you. I assure you that anything you could say to me, you could say to her. I have in fact been briefing her on the situation. What can I help you with, my child?
Alora's going to nod to Ruth, just to acknowledge her with a smile.
Yeah, Ruth nods. Ruth nods back at you, and you can see that although she's quite she holds herself quite straight, quite upright, quite tight. The way she looks at you, she gives you this kind of a warm smile, and you see her eyes crinkle slightly, and you can tell that there is probably quite a loving, kind woman underneath this kind of cold exterior. Yep.
Well, if I start by introducing myself, it's nice to meet you. My name is Alora Greyvale, and this is Esther Aziz. Esther is also, she's a cleric of the church. Bishop may or may not know, but she was looking after the church for many, many years in Dranau, and her son has now taken over, and she is travelling with our group.
That young whippersnapper's your grandson, I believe. Yeah, is it? What was his name? Ruth. What was his name? And Ruth stood by his side. She's got her hands folded in front of her, over her kind of abdomen, just folded over the top of each other, quite neatly. Looks at Gerhardt and she goes, Gerhardt, his name was Florent. Florent, Gerhardt. Florent. Ah, yes, the whippersnapper. And she gives you a look and she kind of rolls her eyes slightly. You can tell that Ruth probably nannies Gerhardt a bit.
Well, okay. Laura's going to take a seat, and she's going to motion to Esther to also sit down. I've come to see you about a couple of things. My friends, my companions, and I, we've discussed the comings and goings of what has happened, things that have come to light today, and whilst we're still trying to come to terms with all of that ourselves as well, we would like to tell you at this point that there is absolutely no way that we can leave Selhoff without trying to sort out this problem for you, for us, for anybody who is a Selhoff citizen. This just can't go unchecked. It's a bad business. It's just a bad business. And we are absolutely committed to try and helping you before we go on our onward journey to try and complete the task that Cuin's been set, that we are helping him with. Firstly, you offered use of the relics and magical items and what have you that we managed to bring back for you this morning. We would like to take you up on that offer, although at this moment I'm not quite sure which pieces might be useful to borrow.
Anything you need, whippersnapper. It is at
That's
your
fine.
disposal if you decide you need something else later on. There is no rush to take things and choose what you need now. They are here and they shall remain here.
That's absolutely fine, and we really, really appreciate that. And anything we do decide to borrow if we need it, but only if we need it, then obviously it will be returned to you. There's one small matter that I have been given a lot of thought to, and this is one of the reasons I brought Esther with me. The Eye of Avacyn that you have in that bottle, that jar there, or the one that we brought back. I know you told us what the properties were, and I have had a good few hours to have a think about things, and this is a decision that I have not come to lightly. I feel that what we need to do is going to be something that is going to be done kind of stealthily. I don't think this is going to be done in broad daylight. I doubt. I would be willing to sacrifice one of my eyes to be able to use this particular item. However, I have a relatively decent constitution, but I think it stops short of gouging one of my own eyes out, and I know that this can only be used in an empty eye socket. None of us has one of those, but this item is very, very useful. It's a powerful item, it's very useful. The problem I have is, firstly, is this something that could be changed magically? Could I use this by having it installed, if you like, magically? And secondly, if it is installed magically, I'm assuming, well, you can't put my own eye back in afterwards. Is that even possible?
Well,
I mean,
Whippersnapper, I believe I shall let Ruth explain this. I think she has a greater grasp on this subject matter than I do. And he pats Ruth. He's probably aiming for her back. He hits her right butt cheek. She kind of gives that kind of tsk, clicks her tongue, just, swats at him rather gently, just swats him away. She goes, yes, well, as Gerhardt said, and she pulls a chair out, she takes a seat. She's been standing this entire time. She's probably trying to avoid having her backside swatted again, especially in front of guests. She goes, yes, as Gerhardt was saying, magical items can be, or holy relics in this case, can be quite the finicky little thing. I love these magical items. They are something which gets me going in the morning. It's my area of research, my area of speciality, if you could so speak. I am the curator for the magical items in the Selhoff Church. So I can only thank you ever so gratefully for returning what you have returned. And as Gerhardt said, of course, whatever we can provide for you to use, to anything you need, I am more than happy to help you and explain to you the exact uses. The Eye of Avicin is a rather unique artifact in what it does. I'm sure Gerhardt explained it to you already, but this eye replaces one from a missing socket. Ergo, the missing socket part. You would have to lose an eye to do this. The eye carries its own burdens. You are effectively self-mutilating in Avicin's service. It's something which is it's something which is looked upon rather. There's a bit of a dichotomy in opinion here. So some people view it as a barbaric practice which should never be used. Others view it as the ultimate example of a service to Avicin. As it is a holy artifact, and it is what it is, depending on what the user does with it. Removing the eye is, or removing your own eye, is something which can be done fairly easily. I say fairly easily, we would knock you out. And I myself would remove your eye. I would make it as clean and as pain-free as possible. Obviously there are herbs and poultices and potions which you can use to heal the wound afterwards. And although it is considered a permanent process, it would be possible if you had a cleric of high enough capability. Perhaps I don't believe we have anyone here in Selhoff who is quite has the high enough skill set, but perhaps in Gavany, you might be able to find a cleric who would be able to restore your lost eye, should you ever wish for your eye to be restored in its entirety. Obviously, it's not as easy as I say, and finding the correct person to do it is part of the problem, and ensuring that everything is in place to make this possible. We would, if you so wish, store your eye until you had need of it again. But yes, it is very easy to make this happen, if you wish it.
I wouldn't choose to do this with a view to just keeping your artifact, your holy artifact. Or if it's possible for you to have these things back, then of course, if that is the deal, that is the deal, and that is not a problem. I would be willing to do this, because I think it may be of use to us in this particular instance.
Yes.
I just think it.
The Eye of Avacyn is unique in this, in that it is not something which we would expect the user to return until their death. No one has borne the eye for a good many decades. So there is no pressure for this to be brought back to the church. Of course, we would appreciate it if at the point of your demise it was returned. However, if circumstances are adverse to that happening, then it will be what it will be. But considering what you've done for the church already and what you are prepared to do for the church now, and of course the undertaking that you are currently on, it's not a question of whether you are worthy for the eye. It is a question of whether you wish to take the eye.
I have had some time to think about it, Gerhard, and I think it would be of great benefit for what we're about to do. And if you wanted some kind of magical tag or tracer on me so that you can obviously reclaim it at some point, that is absolutely fine. And likewise, should I fall in battle, I will, or fall at any point doing anything, I can make people around me aware of the fact that they need to bring my body back to Selhoff so that, so that the item can be returned. I am not a religious person, I have to be honest, but I'm not anti-religion either. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't believe in the cause that Cuin was working for. But yeah, I would be willing to do that. I would be willing to do that if it can be done. I would be willing to sacrifice that.
Yes.
Because something has to be done about this situation.
Yes, we appreciate that, whippersnapper. However, you are in service to Avacyn, whether you are part of the church or not. Your quest puts you into Avacyn's path. I believe there is, Ruth, is there a condition? He looks at Ruth rather questioningly, and Ruth nods. She says, yes, well, I was just about to get onto that. There is a slight, I say, drawback. It is a condition for using the eye. And it's a fairly simple one, but however, if you get caught out in the wrong circumstances, it can be potentially grave. And that is that you see the solution the eye is suspended in.
Yes.
That is a solution of holy water. The eye must be kept moist using holy water. So once a day you must bathe the eye in some form of purified water, holy water. If you do not bathe the eye, it will cause damage to yourself until you can bathe the eye in holy water.
Okay, that's fine. That's on me. That's on me to remember.
If you're still wanting to take the eye, we can do it right here and right now.
Oh, okay. Well, this is why I brought Esther with me. I knew that Esther, with female company, she'd understand why I was making this decision.
Yeah, Esther's been fairly quiet. She's just been sat next to you, looking at you quite consideringly. And she puts her hand onto your shoulder and gives you a squeeze. She's there for moral support. She's with you all the way.
Thanks, Esther. It's appreciated. It is a big thing, but I'm happy to do it if it helps everybody, and I actually think that it will. Before we continue with that, Gerhard, I wonder if we also need to know what else is missing, because you said that we hadn't managed to reclaim everything that you lost.
Yes, Ruth. And he again tries to pawn at her and pat her, and this time he manages to pat her boob. And she again swats his hand away, gives him a tut and a bit of a tsk. She goes, yes, I shall compile a list for you as soon as I can. I am still in the process of just cross-checking things. I am the curator of the collection here, so I do have lists, I do have everything written down, but you'll have to forgive me, my memory is not quite what it used to be.
No, that's absolutely fine. That's fine, Ruth. Maybe you could... I'm sorry.
I can tell you that what you have returned is a little less than a third of our full collection, but obviously things like grains are not that important to us. They're of low value, low consequence, but things like the money, I am still trying to figure out exactly how much of the church's expenses are missing and how much has been used by our own Cathars. They're quite terrible at turning in invoices.
Well, perhaps when you establish what that is, and we do want to move on this quite quickly, the more we know, if we manage to get this done, the more we can try and make sure that we've recouped. I mean, we can only recoup what we can recoup, but we will do our best. But if we have a good idea, especially if it's more relics and holy items and magical things, we will try and find them.
Yes.
But obviously we can't make any promises. We'll just do our best to try and recoup what we can. If you want to give us a list, then send it in a letter, have it dropped off at the guild, and I'll just check the inboxes at the guild.
Yes, of course. On the matter of residents, I believe Gerhard, he's fallen asleep, I do quite apologise. We do have Gerhard and I were discussing earlier, but should you wish for, obviously, some form of immunity, some form of protection, we have several spare rooms here within the church's quarters, which you are more than welcome to utilise and occupy. Obviously, it'll be saving you money on your stay at the guild, I believe you said. So you are more than welcome. We have fresh linens. We will fit them out with fresh linens in the works. But you are more than welcome to stay here.
Thank you, Ruth. That's very kind. I think what I'll do is I will go back to speak to the others about this, because the more questions we ask and the more, it's a very open, very public place, the guild. It might be an idea to just shut ourselves away a little bit, away from prying ears and eyes, just in case.
Yes. So the issue of the eye, do you wish to have that done now, or would you like some time?
I think before I change my mind, it would be a good idea.
Okay.
I think I've kind of made my mind up that I'm happy to do that.
Okay. So, she reaches into a pouch at her side, and you can see she, over the top of her robe, she has got this handy pouch, and it's got big, deep, kind of pouch pockets and zip, kind of buttoned and buckled pockets and all sorts. It's very clearly like a healer's belt. It's got all sorts of herbs and stuff in it. She reaches into her pocket and she pulls out a little vial. She grabs hold of a tissue, a handkerchief from another pocket, daubs some of this liquid onto it, and then holds it out to you and goes, when you're ready, dear. When you're ready, dear. Just have a good sniff of that.
Alora's going to, I'm going to take it off. Oh, is she still holding it, or has she handed it to me?
She holds it out to you, so it's in the palm of her hand.
Okay, I'm going to take it from her hand, and I'm going to hand it to Esther and say, Esther, if you wouldn't mind, I'd appreciate if you would.
Oh, of course, dearie. For what it's worth, I believe what the decision you've come to is terribly, terribly brave. And with that, her one hand grabs back your head, the other hand smacks it over your nose. You're kind of thrown back a bit, but you would naturally struggle. You would naturally try and oppose this. Your body would, even if you weren't consciously trying to do it. She holds it over your face long enough until you have to take a breath in. At which point
it smells nasty.
At which point you inhale whatever it was that Ruth put onto this handkerchief, and in fairly short amount of time you feel your consciousness slipping as your vision turns black and you are knocked out. Okay, so while Esther is gone, Esther and Alora have left. What are you doing?
So I'm going to go to Cadeaux. Cadeaux, are we going to go and try and join this town guard? Or what? Try and see his uniforms?
Yeah, we need to go and find this Jerome Van der Tack bloke, don't we? I mean, they said we could join up almost anywhere, but I think if we go straight to the big boss, on the basis that we're probably more experienced than most of his team, we might be able to talk him into sort of fast tracking us.
Yes, okay. What about you, Ogvar?
Well, I suppose it's probably not wise to go down on my oneself, so I probably won't be trying out, but I shall accompany you.
Okay, well, fine. Well, hope if there's a bit of archery, you could always show them how it's actually done.
Well, possibly, yes.
Okay, so you are heading to find Jerome Van der Tack.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll just ask basically the first city guard that we find on the street where we can find him.
Okay, so the first reputable looking city guard you can find on the street directs you to the captain's quarters near the northern gate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So we'll head over there, if that's okay.
Okay, so you head over towards North Gate, which is where you entered into the city. It's not difficult to see that near this northern gate there is in fact what looks like a barracks against kind of built into or against the outer wall of the city. So as you're facing the gate out, it's on the left hand side. There's what looks to be a big guards barracks. It's kind of like a double-storey building, and the top story's got kind of like a balcony type, like a covered balcony, and it's got these kind of support struts which lead down, which are obviously on the ground, and under there's a couple of bits of there's some horse tack, there's a horse, it's just like a bit of a little covered area. But this building is quite big. It's probably about 50 foot long, 2 stories high. It's a relatively big building. Clearly there's going to be quite a few guards who live in this area. You'd probably say that these are probably longer term guards. They were probably here before Arthur Axon took power. They've been here a long time. They're probably more senior, more long term members of the guard. Make me a spot check. All of you.
All of us?
Yep, all of you.
That's 22 from Cuin.
Oof, 13 all in from me.
27 for Ogvar.
Bloody hell.
Oof! Wow.
So I got to put all my skill points into it.
Okay. So as you enter into this area, it's going to be like a little it's a low wall made of kind of less brick, more piled up rock. There's this kind of this low wall. It's probably only about 3 foot high, just kind of marking this area off as a bit of a training ground, a bit of a training area. And you can see straw bales piled up with targets on them, and you can see the odd kind of human-shaped target which someone's put like a little hat on and drawn like angry eyebrows onto his face. You know, clearly guards having a bit of a laugh here. But as you kind of enter into this area, it's actually quite empty. It's quite
So your mother's joined us.
Oh yes, it's fine. It's fine.
We could listen to what you were talking about.
It's quite empty. It's quite devoid of signs of life. You maybe see the odd stable boy running around, cleaning up, tidying up, and the odd shuffle of hay. But it's quite empty. And as you all enter and you start looking around, trying to see obviously if there's anyone there at all of you see a rather I'm going to say a rather stout man. He's quite he's not the tallest man. He's got a bit of a barrel chest on, and he walks like he's got a pig under each arm with his kind of arms at his side. He's got a big chest, it's puffed out like a puffer fish. And he's got these kind of legs which looks like he's lost his horse. And he comes kind of waddling across the yard out of a side building. And you look at him, and he's wearing this very uniform which would look good on a man who is several clothing sizes smaller. He's got this very opulent looking, very thick looking fabric, very kind of looks like a wool kind of coat. It's this royal blue, and it's buttoned up with these big brass buttons which stretch across his chest. You can see the ripples and the pull marks where he's clearly had to put a bit of effort in to get these buttons done up. It's very tight on him, but it's quite a tailored cut. Looks quite smart, and he's got these kind of blue woolen trousers on, with these big, tall, very, very, very shiny brown riding boots. They look like they've been shone within an inch of their life, but they're clearly well worn. You can see around the toe area it's kind of lightened from this kind of dark brown to a very, very kind of tan colour, obviously with usage and wear. But he's got this coat neckline. It comes right up to kind of under the jawline basically, and it is very, very tight, and you can't actually see the top layer, like the very top of it, as his jowls kind of sag over the top of this collar. And he's got quite a florid face. You're not sure whether that's from exertion or lack of oxygen. And he's got this big kind of handlebar moustache. It is quite magnificent. It is this big handlebar moustache, and he's got proper mutton chops, and he's got this he's got a dark head of hair, but he clearly looks a little older, clearly a more senior figure. And yeah, he's just generally looks like he's, you know, his clothes are shrunk in the wash. But he comes striding out across the yard like that, spies you stood there, and goes, "Ah, more recruits. Come over here then, lads, let's take a look at you."
So yeah, I think Ogvar will look to his side and I suppose he means you two. I'm just more here as a. I suppose I could join in, I suppose, but guys, should we go?
Oh yes. Sorry. Yes. Hello. Yes.
Chop,
want to have a
chop.
look?
Chop, hurry up now. In a row. 1, 2, 3, in a row. There you go. Stand to attention.
Chop. What do you want me to chop? I've got this wonderful sword.
Yeah. Ogvar will just stand there as best he can.
Yep. So you all, I take it you all stand in a row in front of him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of a sort.
You all stand in a row, and he waddles up to you with this big barrel chest and this kind of wide cowboy stride. He waddles up to you, stands in front of you, puffs himself up, feels the strain on his jacket, puffs himself back down again, and he goes, and you see his kind of he's clearly moving his lip, and his handlebar moustache is doing this bit of this undulating motion as he's like looking at you, and he pulls from where he's got on his hip. You can see in the one hand he actually has a short riding crop. He stands there in front of you and goes and he goes around each of you inspecting you. and he grabs his whip and he uses his whip to kind of prod your stomach, prod your chest, tilt your head up, push your shoulder back. He'll have a good prod, good swat at the back of your thigh. He just generally does an inspection of you, and in a way it feels quite violating, but it's a very clinical military, and he you'll do. Yes, you'll do. Right. Are you here to enlist, boys?
Rather depends. So we're fairly new to town. We have some experience of combat, and we've noticed, shall we say, well, what's the best way of putting it, Cuin? What have we noticed about the city guard?
Let's just say that some of them are undertrained.
Yeah, very well put. Yeah, we thought perhaps you could do with perhaps some slightly more seasoned hands. But clearly, experience comes at a value.
He looks at you, and all this time he's kind of slowly circling around the three of you, just looking at you, and you're having to follow him with your head as he's walking around. And as you say this, he swats at the back of your thighs, Cadeaux. Talking back to your superior? Jump down and give me 20, lad.
I've absolutely no idea what that means, but if you hit me with that stick again, I might hit you back.
He spots you with the stick again. Go on then, lad. Do something about it. I dare you. You were not there at the Battle of the Dry Fish Dock, were you, lad?
No, but
the greatest battle in Selhoff City, in its history, the Battle of the Dry Fish Docks, and he begins regaling you with his war hero story. He gets quite animated. He's back in front of you now with his stick, and he's going, I struck him like so, woof! And he brings down his riding crop in this whistling arc, and you kind of have to dodge back slightly to just avoid getting clattered with it. And he is puffing. He is puffing mad at this point. He's there with his too tight uniform, and it is seriously looking in dire threat of bursting a button. You don't know whether to be more worried about the threat of the riding crop or the ricocheting button. He is, and he is only getting redder and redder. And at this point, you're more convinced that it's because he's full of bluster and he isn't giving himself a chance to breathe. It's not that his clothing is too tight, even though it clearly is. But he is practically hopping up and down on the spot, raving mad with this riding crop. And he's regaling you with the story of the Battle of the Dry Fish Dock, which, as far as you can tell, is the least impactful or exciting battle you have ever heard of. Or, in this case, never heard of.
Okay.
A very interesting story. I don't suppose you've heard of the recent attack on the ferry?
What ferry? Don't have a ferry here in Selhoff.
No, the ferry that crosses the river just before you get into the city.
Not my river, not my problem.
Outstanding. It's nice to see you're keeping abreast of what's going on in your local area.
Local area? Of course I am. It's a city.
Brilliant.
I have to make sure that nothing happens ever again, like the Battle of the Dry Fish Dock. And he is off again. He is fully committed, and he launches back. And you can tell that this is probably his greatest war story.
Yeah, okay.
This is something
right,
when he
I'm casting silence. I'm casting silence.
Is there a will save on that one?
Let's find out. Shall we?
I love it.
Which book's it from? It's from that book.
Oh, God. Oh, dear.
Yes, he does get a will save.
Okay, what's it's against your DC, isn't it? It's probably gonna be a Will a 13 do it?
Your spell save is going to be 16.
Yep, okay, so with a 13, this is a 20-foot emanation, so you're probably included in this as well, considering he's right in front of you. And as you cast this...
Oh, well, I can cast it onto a place, can't I? Rather than...
It's a 20-foot emanation. So it
I'm
emanates...
just thinking what spot I'm going to pick. I don't want to cast it on a mobile object because he walks round, it's going to walk round with him. That's going to... Don't want that happening. So I'm going to pick
You might actually do a great service to the city of Selhoff, you never know.
Yeah, well, it's only going to last for 7 minutes anyway. So, yeah, let's pick a spot about 30 feet in front of me. No, 25 feet in front of me.
It's got a 20-foot emanation. Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, so it stops about 5 foot in front of me.
Yeah. So you cast this, and do you have like a? Is it somatic? Is it a movie hands one? Is it what? How do you cast it?
I'm talking and waving my hands about.
Okay, so what kind of motion do you make? What do you say?
Yeah, literally, yeah. Let's assume that the action for making the spell work is.
Right. So you lift your finger in front of your mouth and you say, "Shh."
Yep, indeed.
And with that, the magic is cast, and you see this kind of wave emanate. And as he's talking, his ruddy red face and all this bluster and this movement and crop swishing through the air. It's got one of those like little leather loops on the end of it, so it's got this sound. He's in the middle of this, you cast the spell. You see this kind of almost this invisible wave pass through, emanating from a point 25 foot back in this kind of spherical shape, and you see it almost like an invisible glass wall almost around him. And as he stood there, you see you kind of hear him go from Battle of the Giant, and all you can see is his mouth moving and his arms flailing wildly as he's gesticulating and getting very, very involved. And seemingly spurred on by your lack of response, he keeps going. And very occasionally he paces outside of it, so you get this kind of fish, and then grumbles off into nothing, just these odd kind of snippets of words as he kind of wanders around. And he goes on. He doesn't seem to notice that there is no sound emanating from his mouth. He thinks you are a captive audience, and he is still going, even up to the point where 7 minutes later your spell ends, and again you can hear, "Whipper, you young things, you don't understand the consequences of battle," and he's off again. He's still going. Is there anything you're doing in that 7 minute period of time which would possibly interrupt him?
Can I just like stick up his hand?
No, I'm quite happy to leave it. I'll tell you, that was a blessed relief, wasn't it? Go on, people do go on.
So Ogvar, you stick up your hand and he thoroughly ignores you.
Can I just start waving it a little bit then?
Yeah, you start waving it, and I'm assuming you're probably doing this while he's after he's finished his brief pause, or
is he still going, or is he?
He's going for the full 7 minutes. He's not stopping for the full 7 minute silence. It's castrol. So, are you sticking your hand up afterwards or during?
During. I'm trying to stop him, basically.
Yeah, no, he just keeps on going.
So I'll look across it. I suppose he wants to see what we can do, so... There's a dummy over there. Cuin, you want to give a good whack?
Oh, yes, yeah, brilliant. I'll tell you what, I'll have a play with the old great sword.
Might make him take notice.
Okay. So, Cuin, you're going to...
Just walk up to one of the dummies with my greatsword and have a lash. Basically.
Okay.
I think probably all three of us are just going to walk boldly past said captain whilst he's in full tirade over to the dummies, giving him a stiff ignoring as we go past.
He doesn't notice. He just doesn't notice.
He doesn't notice. No, we're going to head over to the dummies, leave him in full chat.
Okay. Right, so Cuin, I'm assuming you're gonna take a swing at it with your greatsword.
Yep.
Yep, I'm not gonna ask you to roll to hit because it's a dummy, it's not moving. Make me a damage roll.
19.
Well, yeah, that would have hit anyway.
Yeah, he's about to cleave it in half, I think.
Unless it's a mimic.
Oh. That's 8 on the first,
Yep.
and then 13 on the second.
Yeah, you do 2 great cleaving swings which sink into the dummy, one into each side, probably one on the left hip, one on the right shoulder area, and it slices open this kind of sad, saggy looking hemp sack which is stuffed with sawdust and straw, and you cut it open and this sawdust trickles out quite sadly, and the dummy looks a bit more deflated than it did.
There goes Bagpuss.
Okay. Is anyone else doing anything, or is it just Cuin beating up a dummy?
Ogvar's not really there to try out. He's more there for the. I don't know what he's there for.
Moral support.
He just
Moral
did.
support. And he's just there for the shits and the giggles.
Okay. So
Okay.
I think I might just look on admiringly as just Cuin, do you want to do another one?
Oh yes, I could use my bastard sword. So I'm going to run over. I'm going to charge ahead, and I'm going to attack the other one with my bastard sword.
okay. Roll your damage. It's not going to jump out the way.
That's 10 on the first, and a 4 on the second.
Yeah, again, you deal these 2 big blows. You hear a bit of splintering wood. You knock the helmet, which someone's kind of dropped on the top of this post. It goes ping, flies off. Yeah, you've
Have we
battered.
drawn the attention of any city guards yet?
No, there aren't any in the vicinity. Which you
There's
can probably
literally
take a
just
guess as to why
the
there are
windbag
none.
and us.
Yes,
It's just the windbag and us. Great.
it's just you
Has
and
the
Jerome.
windbag taken any notice?
No, not really. He's still regaling an audience which isn't there.
He's forgotten his D6, hasn't he?
Nah, well, that doesn't matter. No, if I haven't got my shield, my bastard sword becomes two-handed,
I don't think it really matters.
and it's a D12.
Look,
not
the
D10.
Absolutely
only-
annihilated it.
the only thing you would have achieved there is you might have knocked it over.
Oh God.
On this scale of combat kind of impact, it's just off the bottom of the scale. Okay.
I'm toying with the idea of setting fire to the barracks to see if he notices us.
Oh my
Right,
God.
I'm going to walk over to the captain and go, and with one sword pointing down, and each one go, "Ah, funny."
Why yes, I wouldn't describe it as that though. The Battle of the Dryfish Dock was not fun. It was a serious battle. And he's off again. He hasn't stopped. He just continues.
I'm gonna turn to Cadeaux and go, maybe we should find that sergeant that you were talking about. Because this one seems,
He's supposedly the boss.
uh,
Do you think he'd stop talking if we put him on his arse?
I don't know, but there's got to be someone. There's got to be somebody who actually does something here rather than just talk.
It can't be a barracks of one, can it? You'd hope not, anyway. I said, Ogvar, you keep talking to this person.
Okay, I can do that.
We'll go for a bit of a look about.
Okay.
So we're gonna plonk Ogvar in front of the windbag,
Okay.
and should we split up and have a look about, or should we look about together?
Well, you go that way, and I'll go this way.
Yeah, you look that way, I'll look this way. So Cuin and I are going to go for a hunt for intelligent life.
Are there, by any chance, any braziers lit in the courtyard?
There are, yes. There are a couple of races.
Okay. Ogvar's going to stick his percolator on top of one of them.
Okay.
He feels he may be here sometime.
Yep, you start brewing coffee. Cuin and Cadeaux, as you begin to walk off, for whatever reason, your movement seems to trigger something in Jerome Van der Tak's mind. He goes, "Where are you off to? Fall in line! Fall in line, I say!"
Yeah, I still don't know what that means exactly.
Stand in a line!
Yeah, no, yes, no, I get the concept. I don't quite understand why you'd like me to stand in a line.
Points with his riding crop in front of him and he goes, "In front of me!" Chop,
Yeah,
chop.
no, I'm not missing the concept. I'm missing the purpose.
Do you want to be a god or not?
Well, yes, but at the moment, as far as I can work out, you're not recruiting, you're storytelling.
Right, well, recruitment process. Step number 1. What is the most famous Battle of Selhoff?
Now, it's funny you should ask.
What's it to do? Something to do with docks?
I think it involved a dry dock, yeah.
Specific. Be specific. Here at the City Guard we like attention to detail and diligence.
I had noticed the diligence.
Come on then, spit it out. What's the answer?
The answer is, I believe, and I mean, I am very willing to be told I'm wrong, but if I'm not wrong, I'm fairly sure it is the Battle of Dryfish Dock.
Correct. Okay, you're now part of the City Guard. Your uniforms are in that building over there. Go fit yourself out and get on patrol.
Well, hang on. There's a discussion to be had about salary.
Fall out! And with that, he turns around and walks off. He gives.
Right, well, it appears we're in. So how many uniforms do we want?
Well,
All of them.
At least 5.
Well, she have 5? 5 uniforms. So, 3, 2 mediums, 1 very large and 2 smalls.
Okay.
So, we're off to the uniform store to avail ourselves of whatever kit we feel like.
Ogvar, are you remaining with your percolator?
Is it still going?
Yes.
It's still perked. Well, I'm not going to leave it there because obviously I'm quite fond of it. So yeah, sure. You guys can sort it out and obviously make sure there's plenty of leg room and arm room and with that on mind, pulling the bow back and so yes, I trust your choice.
Super. Okay, we'll go and find ourselves 5 uniforms.
Okay. Yep. You head into the building that Jerome pointed at, and yeah, it's like a weapons store. There's some shoddy-looking swords, some bent rapiers. When I say bent rapiers, I mean you pick it up and like it's mostly straight apart from the tip, which is bent at a 45-degree angle. It's very rough-looking stuff, and you come to the back and you find this big. It's like a big wardrobe unit, and it's split. You've got like trousers, you've got tops, you've got coats, you've got boots. It's all split into different categories, but it is an entire jumbled mess. I mean, the boots section, half the boots are coated with claggy clay mud. They're missing laces. They've got holes in the toe. You know, they're different sizes. It's a mess. So it's going to take you a little while to find out the bits, but you're able to get hold of 5 complete sets of shabby guard uniforms.
Okay, I assume all we really need is a tabard, isn't it? Tabard and a cloak.
Up to you.
We don't want the boots, do we? Does anybody want the boots? I'm not. I mean, I'm very happy with my own boots.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Innistrad athlete's foot.
Yeah, so I think we're going with 5 tabards and 5 capes, and possibly, is it a plumed helmet?
There aren't any helmets.
Does the helmet in any way identify?
There's no helmet.
So it's a tabard and a cape.
Yeah, but effectively, yeah.
Okay, right. Well, it's 5 tabards and 5 capes then.
Yep, okay, so you pick the best that you can get. They're all looking kind of grotty. You pick the best you got. Some of them are kind of washed out from this navy blue to a kind of periwinkle blue, but they look clean, otherwise clean. So you can now add onto your sheet 5 guardian forms.
Excellent. We'll go back outside and join Ogvar for a cup of coffee.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
think we're going to be disrupted, are we?
So you join Ogvar for a coffee. It's a decent coffee. Pretty decent coffee.
Well, there we go. I think, gents, what we've done there, we've signed all 5 of us up to the city guard.
I believe so, yes. I think we could probably sign up anybody who we could find a uniform for, really.
Well, that's a good point, actually. We could acquire some extras for the church cathars, couldn't we? In case we need to put them in disguise.
It's not a bad idea.
What do you think, Cuin?
Not a bad idea.
I mean, we've got... It's not like we haven't got Orland with us, so we've got plenty of storage.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, brilliant. Right, we'll go back in
Yeah.
and we'll take a selection of 20 other tabards and capes.
20.
Okay, you're probably not going to be able to get a full 20. You might, you pick up one and it's like half ripped off. It's, So I'm just going to roll on the d20, see how many you do get.
Okay. On that 20.
You managed to get 8 uniforms.
Okay.
Full uniforms, so
That's cool.
so tabard and cloak. If you wanted to split them between the cathars, you put tabard or put
Yeah,
cloak, you might be able to cover 16. It's,
Is that sorry, I'm not there, but is that another 8 just for point? Is that 8 plus the 5 they had?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, they get 8 more. 8 more tabard and cloak sets. And you have picked out varying sizes. You've picked out a couple of large, a couple of medium, a couple of small. You've gone for mostly medium and large though, because just thinking about cathars.
Ogvar, stick all of these in Orland for now. I don't think any of us want to leave this building dressed as a member of the guard, do we necessarily?
Not particularly, no.
No, so let's stuff all of the uniforms into Orland and we can head back to the guild and update the girls on what we've achieved.
Well, see what time. What time is it now? It can't be that long.
Yeah, well, we've walked to the North Gate. We've done well. We had to listen to his bloody story for 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's probably coming up
right.
about 2:10.
There we go. Right. Well, I suppose we could go and find out if the underground arena's open. If you want, Ogvar, if you want some company.
Okay, yes. We can go down there, yes.
Brilliant. Right. So we need to get down to the docks, don't we, to get in there?
As the team split up to achieve very different tasks, Esther and Delora headed for holy ground and a chat with the bishop. The girls gave Gerhardt the good news that the team were committed to curbing Axum's antics, and at the same time met Ruth, a cathar of the church and the cathedral's curator of magical items. Fortune favours the brave, and Laura expresses that after much consideration, she would be willing to accommodate the Eye of Avacyn, along with all it entails, exchanging it for one of her own, and, as Esther administers the ether, Laura drifts off whilst the deed is done. As the camera pans back to the boys, Cadeaux, Cuin and Ogvar travel to the barracks to sign up for service and gain some guards' uniforms. What followed was a bizarre encounter with one Jerome van der Tak, who proved to be quite the colourful character. Cuin went all ham on a hapless dummy, Cadeaux cast a spell of silence over a seemingly endless story about the Battle of Dryfish Dock, whilst Ogvar was getting a brew on using a conveniently placed brazier. All in all, the three did indeed manage to gain the garments that they had made a gambit for.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Having you as a listener means everything to us. So, whichever streaming service you choose to listen to us with, please give us a like, subscribe and follow. We would love for you to join us on our Facebook or Twitter page, where you can catch up with all of our latest news. While you're waiting for the next episode of Secrets of the Silver City, why not pop over to our website, where you can read all of the information about this campaign, from backstories to setting. All of the links are in the bio of this episode. Join us again next week for the next instalment. Thank you for listening.